Hey everyone, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 89 of Today with Jared James. Super psyched today. I've got longtime pal, longtime, I guess, business partner, associate, whatever you want to call it. Many different things. Brandon Wise from Wise Agent, the CRM that so many people use or at least know of. Brandon, you want to say what's up to everybody?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on today, Jared. Excited to be here.
Me too, man. I kind of told you that, I do my podcast a little bit different. It was funny because I just released another one that I did with Linda, my lady. I don't know what to call her. My lady. I joke around in there and I'm like, what do you do? Like, do you like me? Circle yes or no. What do you say when you're a 41-year-old man and you're with something like, it feels weird saying girlfriend. But we just kind of have fun and talk, and it's a lot different than probably the other platforms. And one of the things I'm kind of excited about, and I think our audience would be excited about, is, they always see a certain side of me. And then on the podcast, I try to show a little bit of a different side. I'm sure you get the same thing, man. You're on call after call, and it's like, let me do a demo, and you're repeating the same things, and you're doing the same things. But I'd love to, if possible, get into a little bit more of the other stuff. Like, for example, let's just start it out. Where are you from? I know you live in Arizona now, right?
Yeah. We live in Arizona. Our Wise Agent is ran out of a town called Fountain Hills, Arizona, just right over the hill from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
So, um, and not only are we based in Arizona, I was actually born and raised in Arizona. So in Flagstaff, Arizona, everyone's
Oh,
that's
nice.
gone to the Grand Canyon knows Flagstaff, and so that's where I was brought up, and kind of got out of the snow, but didn't go too far, and found our home in Fountain Hills.
Arizona's where you get that amazing olive tone skin that you have, the natural tan.
No, no, only people on the East Coast say that. Everyone here calls me white.
Oh no, that was complete sarcasm. I was not
Oh, okay.
serious. That was a
Oh,
complete
okay.
joke.
Okay. I was kidding.
I suffer from
I
the
must have the
same.
lighting right for him to be saying that.
Please, man, I suffer from the same thing. Believe
Yeah.
me, the exact same
Either
thing.
white or bright red.
Yeah, you know what? I go into like I go into a reddish that then gets a little bit tan after a little bit. And it's funny because every time I'll go on vacation with Linda or something, she's Middle Eastern. And so I'll be like, this is when I'm going to catch up. And the problem is I will come back darker shades than I went there with, but she just gets to a level I don't. It's like running with someone who's got a level of speed you don't have. It doesn't matter how hard you push. Like they have a gear you don't have, and that's how it
Yeah.
is with the skin tone. But interesting. So I didn't realize that you were brought up there, but how old is Wise Agent now? For those listening, Wise Agent is a tool that we use. It's a CRM. I don't know if you call it customer or contact relationship management. Different people call it different things. But we've obviously been partnered with you guys for a long time. We had a time in between there that we'll talk about as well, where we built our own. How old is Wise Agent?
Yeah, we actually just celebrated our 20-year anniversary. So we're
Nice.
in year 21 now. And we've definitely just taken a different approach than a lot of our competitors. We've taken the long, slow road, really just did things a lot different, I guess. So we've focused always on listening to our members and really answering the phone when they call, listening to all these brokers and agents with so many good ideas and problems. And then we just innovate solutions for their problems, take their suggestions and try to put the technology behind it. And so, and we've just grown over the years more from word of mouth spreading and our partners talking about us than anything else. And I think it's what you hear over and over again. It comes back to the customer support differentiator that we have.
I always say anything that can be built overnight can be torn down overnight. It's one of those deals. I actually want to get into that, not yet, but I want to get into that long, slow growth thing. But tell me about the beginnings. Tell me about young Brandon. So
Yeah.
how does someone decide to build a CRM? Were you a developer? Were you just lost and had too many beers and said, "Let me go do this"? Tell me how this happens. How does one say, "Let me go into that"? Because as you know, I at one time built one, and it's not a kumbaya experience. Like, it is a stressful, every time it's like a game of Jenga. Every time you fix one thing, another thing breaks. So tell me about the beginnings. Like, how did you even
Yeah.
decide this is the route I'm going?
Yeah, no, I think again, a little different path than everyone else because we didn't even know what we were doing. So it was really one of those things we stumbled into. I had just gotten my real estate license. I had my license hung with Coldwell Banker in Scottsdale,
How old were
and
you? How old are we talking?
so this is I just turned 50, so this is 20 years
Look,
ago. So
look at you.
there you go. Yeah, about 22 years ago, and what I realized right away as a brand new agent is I'm going to screw this up if I don't figure out how to get organized. My business in here in Arizona, I was selling little condos really to friends and family, but they were in Tempe and Chandler and Mesa. So I'm all over the valley, and they had it set up where you could jump in and use any office you wanted, whatever was near. So you could use their conference room. So it was really nice. But you would get there, and unless in all of your stuff was at your home office, and there was no such thing as internet-based CRM at that time.
No,
And
you're talking 20, 22 years. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
that's a different
yeah,
world.
it was really Top Producer was the only CRM for real estate out there. It was like 6i at the time, and it was just this software that lived on one computer. And I wasn't techie. I had looked at it a couple times and said, "Man, I don't even understand. It looks way too difficult for me." And didn't even really know what it was. I'm just getting started fumbling through this, and had gotten an invite to go to a Cardinals football game here with a buddy, and we ended up in the top, nosebleed of nosebleeds. So we were sitting up there drinking beers, and he was asking me how my new real estate venture is going. I said, "Man, I'm actually selling houses here, but I'm afraid I'm going to get sued. That's all I hear about is dropping the ball, and I've got so many things going on. I need a system that can organize it." He's like, "What do you do?" I'm a programmer. And this is my buddy Mike, and so I started writing down on a beer napkin, "Hey, here's exactly what in my head what could help me get organized so I don't screw this thing up." And he's like, "Oh, I can build that for you." So that was kind of the start of Wise Agent without us knowing what was happening. And maybe a month later, after we got it going, and I had moved my business onto this tool that lived on a website where he worked at, where he's just using the back end of someone else's stuff. That I would log in, and I would have my database and a little checklist to kind of walk me through transactions, so I wouldn't forget an inspection or an appraisal, or all the little things you're in charge of. And I ended up getting the Rookie of the Quarter award, and I was on stage, and just getting the award. And one of the questions was, "Hey, how are you doing all these transactions without an assistant at that time?" And I said, "Oh, you know what? I got this system that kind of walks me through it, and I could pull it up right here because it's internet based." And I showed it, not even knowing what it was called, and there was no password at the time, so everyone in the audience could have logged right into my database and see, I was didn't know what I was doing, but I just started showing
That
them
was
how it
before you were
was.
putting like Friends characters or whatever you do, the hills. Like, what do you do
Yeah,
right now in in
yeah.
Wise Agent when you do
Yeah,
demos? It's like,
we've always got celebrities in there for, yeah. Um, but anyway, yeah. So as I'm showing it, hands started going up, saying, "How much does this thing cost?" And it was really after that meeting, I got back and I was like, "Mike, people want to pay us for this thing. You've got to get this set up where other people can use it." He's like, "Well, then we need a server, And so it just really started with two guys that didn't know what they were doing, but we just said, "Hey, if we're gonna do this, let's be the guys that always answer the phone." That was in a time where no one was answering the phone. It was all the moving overseas, and you couldn't get help for anything. And so we just decided, hey, let's just be these guys that answer the phone. Let's listen to our customers. And that was just a really slow start. And I was making every welcome call back then as people logged in, and
but wait,
every
back
person.
up. So wait, you put
Yeah.
it together. You put it together. So like,
Okay. Well, yes.
so you went from here it is put together. Hey, what is that? Because look, what I find is a lot of people will be interested in something, but it doesn't mean they'll pay money for it.
Right.
So what was that? Let's just like zero in for a second. How did you determine price? What price did you charge? And tell me about that time right there. Like, did you even know how to onboard people? Did you even know like what was the support look like? Like all of a sudden there's an issue. They're talking to Mike. They're talking to, and is Mike's still with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're
Mike's
still
the guy
50.
with the beard and
He's
the
got the beard. He's our CTO, still running the dev team today, and
okay.
still best friends. So
But tell me about that. How do you come up with pricing and everything? And how are you charging people? Because this is back then. Like, this isn't like today you just grab, Square, or you grab, whatever. Like, how are you doing this?
So we got this site put together, and we figured out how to let people log in and create an account. And then I just started telling a few friends in the office, hey, get on this thing and see what you think, and it was just really whoever I knew. And I had a list of these people that had called me that had seen it at the conference. So I started calling them, and there was we didn't even have a way to charge at that point. And so after we got, 10 or 15 people.
But I mean, there was no Stripe. There was no.
Like, and so then when we finally figured out, hey, these guys are willing to pay us at some point, after we had given them, several months free, we hooked up PayPal. And so we came up with hey, let's do $9.99, and it's $9.99. We give everyone 30 days free. It's $9.99 a month, and it's PayPal is the only way we got it. So you have to pay by PayPal. And so we just hooked up PayPal.
After PayPal, because I don't think PayPal back then accepted credit cards.
I don't.
Was that after they started accepting credit cards, or was it?
I think it was right about the time. Yeah, I think it was right about the time they started accepting credit cards. But there was a lot of people. It was just debiting their bank at that point, and so and dropping it in our account, and that was, we thought we were genius getting that part figured out.
$9.99, yeah.
And at that point, I was going on meetings, and to show you how much we didn't know, after I had met with a broker in Anthem, and she was showing me everything that we should have that we don't have, giving me how she's built it on her Excel sheets, and just a lot of great ideas. She said, man, I really think this can be an amazing CRM. And I got back to the office, to my house that was our office at that point, and I told Mike, hey, that's like the third person I've talked to that says this CRM. I think we've got that. What is this thing? So we had to Google CRM, and I was like, Mike, I know what we are. We're a CRM. So
you didn't even know. You didn't even know what you were doing. You just kind of, yeah.
And so then we realized, man, we are, and for anyone out there that doesn't know, or I can't remember what Jared said, we call it CRM stands for Contact Relationship Management, and definitely the key word is relationships. That's what this whole thing is about. And so it's expanded a lot more than when you think of a contact management system is just really an address book, but it's gone a long way. But just a little side note there, because I know there's always someone looking, what the hell is CRM? And that's what we were thinking back then, and so then we were just, taking it as it came, and I was still selling houses on the side, so this wasn't even a full-time job at that point. And then we had one of the title companies come to us. It was a security title at that point, and they said, hey, could you put our logo on there? And we've got 20 title reps that work in Arizona, and they'll start, no one wants to hear about title anymore. They all know we have to go to these meetings every Tuesday and bring bagels. It would be great if we had something we could start sharing and teaching and helping these agents. And so we figured out how to put their logo on, co-brand it. And that was really what got us taken off. But
it's all local. The reason why it worked with that company is because it was all local. So it was a local company. These were local agents. So it's like, oh, you weren't even thinking beyond that at this point. Right now, you're just like, how many at this point, how many users were on your system?
Oh, we're probably talking about, 100 users at that point.
That's a good amount though. Like for in the beginning, like that's a good, yeah.
We were getting, they were coming, and it was just by word of mouth, and so everyone, there was just a lot of people out there that were feeling just like I was. Hey, I need something that lives on any computer. I can get to it wherever I'm at, so I don't have to lug around these big heavy laptops at that point. They were a hassle, and so I think people were just looking for it, and as simple as it was, and I feel, looking back, man, we just didn't have any features, but we had the basic things that they were looking for at that point.
Which is more than what they were doing, which is more than what 99% of agents are doing. Just having something was more than what they were doing. And
even that might even go for today as well, even if we had that same simple system, So anyway, so the title company really helped. And then before you knew it, we had other title companies in the Valley saying, hey, can you put our branding on that too? And that kind of got us taken off. And so it was with definitely the support of these title reps that were out there talking about us, and it was helping them because they would be able to, now people actually wanted to see them come in the office because they knew, hey, this is the technology expert that hooked my buddy up, and so it just kind of started rolling down. And that was really the start and how we got this thing up and running.
That's
Stumbled
crazy.
into it and didn't even know what a CRM was when we
That's
built
too
it.
funny.
So
You had to look up what
um,
this is what we are. This is
yeah.
it's like
And
Jason
really
Bourne
we
figuring out who he was.
yeah. And I remember when Mike and I were talking, as we were putting this together, I said, man, what if we can each make one car payment a year with this thing? We were thinking, real small, maybe, and so yeah, and before you knew it, it was we had money coming in, and it
I
was
love that.
Mike got a call and he got laid off. And they were saying, hey, we're having hard times. We're not going to be able to pay you anymore. And I said, Mike, I'm still selling houses and we're getting busy. I think there's enough work for you to keep you going full time, and you just get a little pay cut. But if we shuffle all this money to you don't need to get another job. And so that kind of started it and got us rolling. And we were, I guess, never really focused on the money or even the growth. We were just having fun, solving problems and helping people. And so, and to
I'll
this
bet
day,
Mike was pretty focused on money once he got laid off.
he wanted to make sure that, yeah. And I mean, and we've always just taken that route of making sure we had the money to put back into, just kept on putting the money back in, and we
Kept
would only
reinvesting, reinvesting. What was
yeah.
what was the first major issue you had? Once you start getting users, it's a two-edged sword. It's on one hand, it's like awesome. Oh my God, it's like proof of concept. This is great. On the other hand, that also creates issues when it comes to the server. It comes to more people using it than whatever. That comes to whatever.
Right.
What do you remember? Like the first major issues that like kept you up, or like started stressing you guys, or made you think maybe we shouldn't have done this. We should have just kept it for ourselves. Tell me about that.
It was the server issues for us, because back then, now we're on Amazon Web Services, AWS, so
Yeah.
there's no problem to scale up and down. But back then, we only had our first, we had our one server, and then we heard, oh man, you've got to mirror this thing, because what if that goes down? And so every dollar goes into buying another server, and then to get these two running the exact same at the same time, and all the information, because now people are putting stuff in the middle of the night, and so you had to take it down. And then I remember there was a couple times when he said, okay, we got to just take it down for an hour, and then he couldn't get it back up, and so there was a lot of stress, and we were doing all that kind of work after hours or at nighttime or weekends. And so yeah, any time that they would, he would start taking the site down or adding to it. And then as we were growing, we're like, man, we've got to buy more server. Why is everything slowing down all of a sudden? Everything was going good last week. And, and just like you said, as people started dumping all this data in, and then we created the flyer feature. Well, then that made them start uploading pictures, and images are much bigger, but we had
so now it's more and more capacity, more and more. Yeah.
And so each of these little things we've always had to figure out. And we got to a point where we had, 8 servers going in this big, secure building that we were dumping all kinds of money.
It's way different now than AWS. I mean, back then you had little physical servers,
physical servers. And there was one time where the power strip failed, but you were thinking it's a service failed. And so we're rushed. We have to go drive downtown to Phoenix to go through this, all the security to get to our locker that has the servers in it. And then start trying to diagnose and figure out what's going on, and calling everyone, that's in the hardware. And say, what's going on? And it turns out to be a power surge,
so you're trying to do your real estate stuff, but you're also over here, fixing problems, plugging holes, just like, oh my God, what's going on? So, exciting, stressful, what? Did you ever think to yourself, you know what, maybe we just go back to me using it? I'm not in for this, or no?
No, I guess not. Once we start going, it's like almost a rush every day to fix these problems and get this adrenaline, and definitely even to this day, when anything goes wrong on the tech side, to see a bunch of developers get their adrenaline going, that, it's a sight, it's kind of, it's always exciting. And I know we are always going to solve every problem that we run into, and it's just get past the next, what's the next one,
It's
so we can
part
get
of
past that.
you're not promised no problems. You just gotta
Right,
solve the
right.
problems. That's it. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
inevitable, right? When you're
The
talking
same
about
same
tech.
thing when you're selling houses, man. There's a problem in every transaction.
It's
You're just kind of
inevitable.
fixing this problem. So yeah, it just really became our passion, as we started getting into it, and realizing, man, we're helping a lot of people reach their goals, using our system. and
Yeah.
and then we started having, companies that were like a virtual assistant coming, and they're running everything off, and we're like, man, there's a whole company running off of our system, that we didn't even, they're making their money. So we just realized, man, we're just
Now you're like,
helping.
now we can't back out. Like, we
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
keep
You're
it.
like, we're in, and we have a really, we run our office, different. We try to be, we're definitely one of the only tech companies in our town, and we make it a fun place. We've got our video games and dartboards and shuffleboard and the candy bar, and so we try to have a lot of fun. Today is Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo here in
I'm a
Arizona.
little
That's a big
surprised you
deal.
didn't jump on with a margarita. I'm a little surprised. Okay,
Well, it's
I expected more from you.
they're being delivered at noon today. We're having a big Cinco de Mayo party here.
I feel like at least, oh my God, that's right. We're having a thing too. I completely forgot. I feel like at least 50% of the time that I've seen you, you've had a drink in hand. At least, because we see each other at events.
I usually cheers you when because you got one in your hand as well.
I don't know what you're talking about. No. All right, so that's all interesting. Like I was telling a lady the other day, I said your biggest problem is you think you're not supposed to have problems. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, everybody's got, like, that's the idea. Like, if you don't have problems, then you're not doing anything, right?
Right.
You might as well, go buy a plot at a cemetery and wait. Like, problems are just a part of life, right? Well, first of all, I want to get to a couple things there. What came first, hiring other people or you going full time?
Me going full time.
Okay. And
Yes.
when did that happen? And when did you know it was time to do that? What was the leap? Were you scared or were you comfortable? Were you with your wife at that time? Were you not? Like, I want to know that whole dynamic of, hey, I'm going to stop selling real estate. I'm going to get into, we're doing this. Like, tell me about that dynamic. When did it happen? What point were you at? Was it comfortable to do it? Was it scary to do it? Was it like, tell me the whole thing.
Yeah, before I got in, I had met my wife at the hospital. I was an X-ray tech, and she was in nuclear medicine. So we're kind of both in the radiology department, and that was what really gave me I knew I wasn't cut out for this hospital scene at all, and I was just really, every patient I had on the table, I was asking, hey, what do you do? Because I got to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I can't just jump. So after we got married, I was able to get my insurance through her, and I had talked to enough realtors on the table that I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what kind of led me to get into
when is that? Like, how far in is that? Like, how many years in after you start charging people $9.99 to that point, after Mike goes full time, after whatever, how long in does that happen?
Yeah. So then after I got my license, it was really, 6 months in to real estate when we built Wise Agent. So I was just a rookie, still trying to figure the business out. And then it was maybe 3 months into it is when Security Title came and said, hey, co-brand this thing. And then it just started getting busy. And one of the things that we had set up, right from day one, I said, you know what, every person that registers, I want to get a text message so I can call them and welcome them on. And so it became, started doing a lot of welcome call, everywhere I'm going, I'm driving people around, and while they're looking at a house, I was calling realtors, welcoming on. And then the phone just became every call. It wasn't to show one of my listings. It was someone saying, hey, can you add this feature onto your CRM? Can you add this, and
the ultimate customer feedback, right? Like, you're hearing
and
whatever.
The more it was coming in, I realized, man, this is starting to interfere with my real estate business. Now, I'm not able to get all the attention. So we were just working a lot of hours. So it was real estate in the day, working Wise Agent after, in between showings, and at night and weekends, and
I still, by the way, man, I still relate to that. Like, that is, people are always like, when I left my real estate practice, I mean, I left a flourishing real estate practice. Like it was almost insane to go do anything else. But when I started doing that, it was the same thing, man. Like I was literally at one point getting on stage, doing whatever, and then going backstage, answering calls from buyers and sellers and doing whatever. And you hit this breaking point where you're just like, got to make a decision here. Like this isn't like, you know, boy with a dream anymore. This is like, we got to make a decision here because, you know, something's got to get the focus.
Right. Yeah, no, that was exactly it. I said, okay, if we're going to do this, I've got to get in. And so yeah, it kind of came, you know, gradually, I guess. But then I realized, you just wake up one day and realize, man, I'm spending all my time on this business, and now it's this one's starting to suffer. And so at that point, we looked at the funds, and I'm like, man, I think I can.
And your heart was probably over on the other. Your heart was probably into the CRM, right? Like you were like,
it was. I was getting so much, you know, just joy, fulfillment, I guess, out of talking to these agents and then being able to call and say, hey, we built it, you know, check this out, you know, and they would get so happy knowing, hey, they built this for me. And you know, and so it was
it called Wise Agent at that point, or was it just kind of like CRM?
Geez, that's a whole nother story. So as soon as we're like, man, let's come up with a name. And I said, well, we've got to use my name in it. You know, it was
given the name branding agent didn't go over the same way.
So we came up with the perfect name, we thought, and it was called Wise Realtor. And so we ordered our business card, you know, got all of our branding all set up, spent you know, that all the time and money in that. And of course,
can you even use that? You can't use the word realtor.
No, and then I checked the mail one day and we had a nice 2-page letter, a cease and desist letter from the National Association of Realtors saying you can't use our name and your name, you know. And we're like, what is he talking about? And at that point, we didn't even have a lawyer. So I said, okay, I guess they win. Throw all your business cards away and let's come up with something else.
It's all out the door. The business cards, the everything. Sounded like such a great idea.
Yeah. And so then we're like, what is it going to be? And at that point, someone else owned the URL Wise Agent. So we became the Wise Agent. And then I started reaching out to them and saying, hey, you know, any chance you're not doing anything with this? It's just sitting there. And it was about 2 years of consistency, reaching out to some guy I didn't know and telling him, hey, if you ever want to sell that thing, I could sure use it. It's my name, you know. And before you know, I got him.
What'd you have to pay for it? Are you allowed to say?
You know, it was less than $500 at that point.
Oh, come on. So, yeah, you probably would have paid more, and he only asked for 400 or something. Dude, by the way, man, I'm in the same thing. Why do you think we're JaredJamesToday.com? Why do you think I'm Jared James Today on Instagram? Jared James Today. Because there's a company called JaredJames.com that is out in like Great Britain or something that doesn't do a lot of work, but no matter what, they will not. 15 years I've been trying to buy this thing, and it, you know. And I will gladly, if you're listening right now, I will pay less than $500 in a second to get it. But I have not. I own all the others. I've got jaredjames.net. I've got jaredjames.us. I've got jaredjames. Whatever. I don't have jaredjames.com, which drives me insane. But all right. So tell me about, okay. So you that's very interesting. But when you first start off, I know it's great to say, you know, it wasn't about the money. It was about, we wanted to make that's awesome. But your mortgage company, your landlord doesn't care about you making a nice product. So when you first start, do you have to come up with something where it's like, okay, there's enough revenue? Like, are you splitting revenue with Mike and saying, hey, this will actually work for me? Are you taking a leap? Are you getting an investor? Are you doing more of those, those deals with the title? Like, how are you making it feasible for you to actually make this move while also not being a homeless CRM owner?
Right. Yeah. So we were just really, really blessed, and we're always grateful that it did take off fast enough. And when we were telling people it was $9.99 a month, no one had an issue putting their PayPal.
You were still at $9.99 at that point. You were still at $10.
At that point. Yeah. We stayed there for, a couple of years, I would say, before we felt comfortable. And then the next jump was $14.95, you know.
Did you grandfather those people, or did you go up on the beginning?
You know what, that was one thing that we were big on, is, hey, let's just be the good guys in this thing. And all the stuff that people don't like about all these tech companies, let's do it right. So yeah, we've always grandfathered everyone in. Every price
Dude,
you know,
I've got users still paying $9 a month for our virtual coaching
yeah,
because they
yeah.
got in when it was terrible and it was just an
Uh-huh.
idea
Oh,
and
I
I
love
didn't
it.
know what we were doing. We're like, let's give this a shot. Let's, whatever. We were the first ones that did that virtual training online. And we still have people like when I see like every once in a while I'll look and I'll see like charges for $9 a month. And
Uh-huh.
they mean so much more to me than our users paying thousands of dollars or doing, whatever it is. I'm like, that person signed up literally just because it was me. And they were like, I'm in, I'm whatever, when
Yes.
there was no reason to. Like it was, and I will never change their price. Like that will always be their price.
I love it. Yeah, yeah, I know that feeling, man. Yeah. And
That's
and
awesome.
those people are also some of our best salesmen today, because
Yeah.
they're mostly the ones that are doing it. They're successful, and people are constantly asking them what they use, and so it's always been good for us.
All right.
Doing the right
So
thing.
the full answer to that question was you had enough, monthly subscribers that you had what you needed to make it work,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you
and
had an
I guess
investor.
I guess maybe because of the way that Mike and I were both brought up without a lot of money, we didn't need a lot of money to make it work. We were used to living our lives with no money, so it
You're like, we
wasn't.
started this on a napkin.
Yeah, and we didn't have to be the when people think about a tech CEO, what the perceptions, we didn't care what they thought. Hey, we're happy, and we had so we were able to make enough money that we were happy that the whole time, really.
You're like,
So
we
we
can
didn't.
do what we want to do. We can be happy. And even if this doesn't grow anymore, there's enough here to make this work. We can live, do you know what I love about that, man, is I don't know if you know the company Homebot,
Yeah, yeah.
which was started by a buddy of mine, Ernie Graham. He's one of the guys I go and do like my boys trips with, to Tulum and stuff. That company started on a napkin. Like I remember him showing me in a God, what was it? It was like we were in like a diner or something. Like I don't remember where we were. And he's showing me on a napkin, this is how it's gonna work, and da 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 da. And he's going through all this whatever. And then you look at it, he sold the company 2 years ago. He's still the chairman. There'll be another sale that happens, whatever. And I always look back on it because everyone now looks at it as like, this big company that, is now, most people in the real estate industry know of, and mortgage people use it, and realtors use it, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I was there when we were writing on a napkin, and he's showing me like, this is what it's going to be. And so I love that origin story of like you guys sitting there having beers and you're just like, this is what I need. This is what, because most stuff starts there. The difference is for most people is that's also where it ends for most people. Is they're like, I have an idea, but then they just kind of, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the difference, right? It's like you
Right.
do that, you have the idea, and then there's all these pitfalls that come, all these problems that come, all these, whatever. And it's funny when a company goes and sells eventually, when you talk about the tech space, a lot of people on the outside look at it and they're just like, oh, look at that. They just go sell it and they make all these, millions of dollars, whatever. And it's like, no, you don't understand like what it took to get to this place, like the risk
Right.
that it takes, and the heartache and the late nights and the sleepless nights and all those things you weren't willing to go through just because you're watching now. You weren't there for that, and you wouldn't have made it through that. Therefore, you didn't deserve to have that return, But so cool, man. So cool.
Yeah. We hear all the time, man. It's like you guys are just an overnight success. That's what they think.
Did
There's a
you
lot
ever
of
did you
nights.
ever take investment? Did you ever take
No,
like
and I
investment? And
guess
you just literally were organic all the way
I
through.
guess that was it. You know what? We were almost afraid of it. Again, growing up the way we did, we didn't know anything about money or that whole world of investing. And other than the stories that we were hearing of, hey, don't do it. It'll change everything. And so we were at that point, really, we weren't getting a lot of offers for money. We didn't have investors emailing us every day,
You
like,
didn't even know where to go.
what happens later. Yeah. And we didn't know how it works. So we weren't seeking it, and they weren't reaching out to us. And I think at that point, we probably would have, if we had it, because as you grow, then you end up having your email box full of investors, private equity firms daily reaching out. But
Is
in the
that the
early
case?
days,
Do
they
you get a
weren't.
lot of offers now for investment and purchases and like all? Do you get that kind of stuff now?
Yeah, I think that all tech companies are companies that have been around for a while. those private equity guys they're very, there's a lot of them, and they're definitely good at
If
reaching
you've
out
got
and
good
saving
MRR,
us.
right? If you've got good MRR,
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, they're all, yeah, and they see that we're doing cool things, and so but yeah, to answer your question, no, we've never taken any kind of investment money. We never wanted to be in any kind of debt, and we've always thought, hey, we're doing good now. Maybe we'll take money when we need it, and we've been able to keep up that growth and put the money back in. That we've never come to a time where we're like, man, we don't have enough money to do whatever it is we
Yeah.
needed to do. We've always been able to figure out in house. And I think, and then just looking at, the longer you can hold out without taking money, the more your value is going up. And so when it does come, you're not going to have to give away as much of
Well,
your company.
so that's interesting. So, is there also a part of it too? Like I know for me, right? Like I never took investment in my companies. I've been offered many times to have investment in my companies and, whatever, but, I love that I own 100%.
Yeah,
Like, and
it's a good feeling.
with that comes not only, one day eventually if you wanted to have an exit strategy, but it also comes with decision making, you know. Did that have any bearing on that? Like, did you like the idea that no, we have decisions? And how do you guys do that? Are you guys 50-50? Are you 51-49? Are you let's arm wrestle it out? Like what's that look like for you guys? And did decision making have anything to do with also not taking investment?
Yeah, I think that was a huge piece of our decision not to, is that we were I guess especially in the early days, we were having a lot of fun, like we thought tech companies were supposed to. And there's a party in our office every Friday, or we're taking people out to happy hour. Now we do a happy hour once a month, and when we celebrate all the anniversaries and birthdays. So we've cut back a lot, but we still have fun. But we were thinking, man, if we do this, then the fun stops, is what we've heard over and over. And so a lot of it was just like we just like being in control and do it. And I was real fortunate that Mike and I were good friends. Right after I met him right after high school, and we were just stayed buddies for a long time. And then when we got in business together, we really, I guess, very fortunate that it was just like-minded guys, because we're 50-50 partners. And we've never had an issue that we couldn't, talk through and
You
get
must
on the
have
same
had
page.
disagreements, but it's just
Oh yeah,
basically
yeah.
like if you disagree, you don't move forward type of thing.
Right. Yeah. So it's just been a really good relationship, and I know that's what leads to a lot of sales or fails in business is the partnerships. But it's been solid, and we've always kind
That's
of been on
good.
the same page, and made it work, and it's been a good relationship.
That's good, man. You don't have to get specific, but have you ever had an offer that has been tempting when you've been like, hey, maybe it's time to sell Wise Agent?
Yeah, I guess we've had some that were very we kind of started going down the road and
Yeah.
checking it out more and more, and for one reason or another, it's been I guess 3 different times where we've stopped and put some actual hours into what would this look like, because
Yeah.
this is pretty good. And each
I was going to
time,
say, it's your baby. And it's also, I mean, the reason people are interested is because there probably is good MRR. And for anybody listening,
yeah,
that's, monthly recurring revenue, and it's a good business model. And it's a good, they used to say, how do you get rich in real estate? $19 a month at a time. And,
yeah, yeah,
CRMs are the king. They're like
right, right,
the local gym membership, you've got so many users, and a certain percentage of them use it, a certain percent don't, but you still get charged every month, because they're not going to
right,
give up the
right,
database. They're not going to, it's a very sticky business,
yeah.
which is great,
I think for us, it's we practice what we preach. We're really big on being authentic, and this is all about relationships. And man, we've built a lot of really tight and good relationships with our members, our brokers, and agents across the country. And so I'm always thinking about what's in their best interest as well, not just
Yeah.
what's good for us. And you look at the different CRMs that have come and sold in our time, just in the last 20 years. And it's just over and over again. When you see, for, even the last 3 that just went,
Yeah.
when you see the all different private equity firms that have bought them, but we don't see them taking good care of their clients after the sale. You know, they're not answering their phone, they're not fixing bugs. Or,
You see a huge turnover. You see a big
little things,
turnover of the
yeah.
users that are
Yeah,
there.
and
Yeah, big turnover.
that's been really good for us because just got an
Yeah.
open doors of people, you know, switching over. But we don't want that to happen, you know. So when we think about what we would do, we want to make sure that if we ever do go down that road, we have a good partner or the right company to sell to. That,
well, not for nothing. I think what separates you from a lot is that your name is literally on it.
Yeah, no,
Your name is on
big.
it, you know?
Yes.
Not the
It's on
original
my mind
name,
all the time.
but it's your name is actually on there. Hey, speaking of relationships, I was just thinking about this, and I'm terrible at this stuff, like terrible. Do you remember when you and I met?
Sure. Yeah. We've well, I took a peek before before the meeting, but yeah, I put you in my Wise Agent in 2012.
Oh my God, you actually, so 2012, so we're talking 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember where it was?
Yeah, I want to. I should have looked, but I want to say it was at a NAR, a National Association Realtor conference,
That makes
and
sense.
yeah,
Do you still go to any of those?
you know, I do a lot less, but I love getting out there and actually shaking hands and meeting
Yeah.
some of our clients. So where and I actually like standing at the booth and working the booth when I get an opportunity. You
Yeah.
know, it's just now we've got people that's what they do. But
Yeah.
yeah, anytime I can. I think that's another thing is, you know, different is I'll be out there on the floor show, at the show floor, you know, shaking hands and listening to problems or listening
Yeah.
to all the success stories. But I really like getting to see everyone over and over throughout the years. You know, it's this all the same faces that come to
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
conferences. So you
Very.
just get to know people and get great relationships, and you miss them if you don't see them after a while. So you got to get out there.
I haven't been going to it, like, honestly. So it's funny because I used to love coming by, and I'd come by your booth and say what's up. And you used to be like, I've got this many signups. Look at these over here. You got all excited. Like it was always fun to go do that. It's so funny because I was just talking to you know, Dan and John, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan Stewart, John Mangus, my boys. I haven't really been going to. I've been traveling so much, doing our own events and doing whatever, that like it's tough to like hit a lot of the industry events that I used to go to year after year after year, and you meet everybody and you get to know the crowd, and it's like, you know, you just becomes like part of like your community, so to say. And it was funny because Mangus actually sent a text this morning. I guess he was getting ready to go to, I think it was like mid-year. I know they call it something else now. But it's like mid-year for NER. He's like, it's just not the same, you know. So one of these years, I'm gonna get back out and just go to hang, because we used to go just to hang. Like literally, it wasn't work. It wasn't like, I remember year after year at NER being like, hey, you gonna speak? Nope. Like literally just going for like, you know, you got your industry contacts, you got whatever, but we would get a condo off somewhere, off site, just like a guy's trip, just fun, you know, whatever. I got to get back to it, man. It's seeing guys like you and others. It's those are like some of the best memories, is all those after parties, and you know, all the real stuff happens. I feel like that's where all the real business happens.
Yeah, I know. We've built so many relationships at those after parties at these conferences. It's great. Yeah, when I walked in the office this morning, they had the booth ready to go out and the suitcases packed. So heading out to DC for the mid-year conference.
Oh, they're actually going. So you're not going though?
Yeah. No, I'm not doing this one. But I am going to be at the Jared James Summit for sure. That's one that I said, hey, I'm
the Jared James Advance in October. You actually
awesome. Yeah, and the fact that you having it in Nashville helps to get me there as well.
Do you know what's funny, man? I'm so tired of Nashville. Like, I'm so tired of Nashville and Vegas, and like I'm just over it, man. Because it's like, you know, in my world where you go and do the speaking stuff and everything, it's like I have so many events at those places that it's just like I'm over it. Like unless look, I'm not at the point anymore where like I'm not gonna go out by myself and go party and whatever. That's not really my thing. Right. And so I really just kind of hang in the hotel. It's an early night for me. I go to Nashville, I'm in bed at like 7 p.m. Unless I'm there with like people I knew, if I knew you were there, I had friends there, whatever, and we could go enjoy some bands, have some fun, whatever. But by myself, like I'm just like, I'm good. You know, I'm gonna go hang around a bunch of drunk 23-year-old bachelorette parties, not really my thing, but yeah, man. But Nashville, it's so funny. That's why we keep doing it at Nashville. And for anybody listening, we're talking about the Jared James Advance in October this year, which is going to be October 23rd and 24th. But people love to go there, so for me, it's like, oh, here we go again. But like, people love to go there. Now, day 2, opening day, you're generally speaking to a crowd of hungover people.
Right.
But it's a good time. And it's fun, man, because talk about us knowing each other for years and years and years. You were at, I think you were at the first Jared James Advance, if I remember correctly, at the Connecticut Convention Center. And
there.
I feel like we always fudge the numbers and say there was like 250 people there, but there's no way there was 250 people there. I want to say maybe 170, maybe, like, who knows, somewhere around there. And so, like, whenever I talk to you, it's always cool because, yeah, you were there for those things. And then, throughout the years. And now, so this year, if you noticed last year at the Advance, we took the back quarter or third of the room and we made them, because we always do classroom style, where everybody's got a table in front of them and, make it nice and easy. And then last year we had to take the back quarter or third of the room and go theater style. I don't know if you noticed that.
Right.
That's because we ran out of room. And then this year we're looking at it and we're going, oh shoot, like, are we going to have to, and honestly, our goal, and I think we'll have to see how this goes. Everybody can go back and play this at some point. But I'm thinking, man, within 5 years, we're probably going to have to do the convention center there, or the arena, or whatever it is, with the, because we're getting to the point now where the way these things go, you got to book them years in advance. And so we do the Grand Hyatt, which is, a beautiful hotel. It's like brand new. It's on the end of Broad. So it's like far enough away that people aren't throwing up on your shoes, but it's close enough that you can walk to everything. Right. But the problem with booking years in advance is you don't know what it's going to look like, what your brand is going to look like, what your, whatever. And now we're hitting a point where it's like, the place is gorgeous, but we're running out of space. Like, when it comes to doing our breakouts and doing our, whatever, you need a certain amount of people to be able to fit. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but last year we did less breakouts, but we did them in larger rooms. Because we were getting people complaining where you do them in these other rooms. And now you got, looks like Sermon on the Mount. You got people all over, people out in the hall, people, whatever.
Standing
but
room
you've been there.
Yeah.
My point is you've been there since, we did the Connecticut Convention Center, with, I want to say maybe there was 170, but who knows? Yeah. I don't remember the exact number, but it was something like that. But it just goes to show you, when it comes to relationships, I'm talking about Dan and John and all these people, all of those trips, they really do matter, because there's all these people who you meet at these after parties and these, whatever, that, over a decade later, it's, I always feel like that. Me and Darren, Dawson from Bomb Bomb.
Yeah.
We've always been so tight because we kind of met each other when both of our companies were virtual unknowns.
Right. I remember when he came in. Yeah, no, great guy.
Two boys with a dream. Like, we just, so now we give each other crap and, make fun of each other and everything else. But the truth is, we're wildly, like, proud of the other person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just like, yes, like, it's amazing. And but
I would say that out of the maybe 200 people you had at the first one, there was probably 100 people last year that I recognized from the very first summit.
Yeah.
So, or Advance. So yeah, I mean,
isn't that crazy?
A lot of people have stuck with you over the years and go to every single Advance, So it's
so crazy, man. So crazy. Well, that's cool that you guys are going to be there again. For anybody listening, by the way, I'm going to get into some other stuff here, but obviously, I've got Brandon on here because, we've had a partnership for years, other than we built our own. I'll talk about that in a second. But for anybody listening who wants to actually try out Wise Agent, one of the reasons that I love Wise Agent is just, to me, it's like the simplicity, right? Like, you guys do so much that they can use so much of that or not use so much of that. That's up to them. But I've always felt like it was a very user-friendly system. Like, it's whether you're at, this level, you're a 401 user, or whether you need the 101 class, you can still use Wise Agent, right? And it's better than not doing anything. So if you go to wiseagent.com/Jared James, wiseagent.com/Jared James. I believe, do they get a trial or no? I honestly, I don't even know.
Yeah. No, we get everyone will get a 14-day free trial. And in that 14 days, it's not just a trial. This is where you're going to still get a welcome call to this day. But in that welcome call, what we're going to do is set you up for a time to get a one-on-one onboarding. And that's one of the things that we found early on. There's just really no way to onboard, even when we get a whole office.
Yeah.
You can't onboard not even 5 people at the same time, because you don't
Yeah.
want to hear, this next guy tell us all of his problems and what he needs. So we've done really good at that. So as you get your free trial, you're going to schedule a time where you can talk to one of our specialists, and in that meeting, they're going to really just be helping you get your database from wherever it is. Sometimes it's in 3 or 4 places. Get it all moved over into your Wise Agent account, get it synced with your phone, get your calendar synced, and then figure out where are those leads coming from. What are you doing to generate business, and we'll help you get that set up so those things are all dropping
Get the
in.
Basic foundation. And I mean, it's individuals, teams, brokerages, like you guys really work the system for any of those. And then on top of that, when they use that link, the wiseagent.com/Jared James, they have our follow-ups in there that I've personally written. They've got all sorts of stuff like that going on. Do you guys still, I remember when this was a thing, when I was like, you need to do this. Do you guys take the credit card when they first sign up for the trial?
Because of you, we do. Yes.
Good. For everybody listening.
It took us a long we need it.
Brandon like fought this on me. He's like, because they wouldn't take the credit card when signing up for the trial. And then you're like chasing people 14 days down the road. I'm like, dude, take the credit card. Make it easy. They put it in the beginning. He's like, I don't know. I feel bad. I don't know if I want to, whatever, which just goes to show you Brandon's heart. But I'm over here going, Brandon, it's not only good for you, it's good for them. They don't have to go and manually give it to you 14 days later either. It's very simple. When you sign up for the trial, put your credit card info in, everything's there. If you decide you don't want to move forward, you cancel. No big deal. It makes it easy for everybody. It saves your people from having to chase down a bunch of people, wondering if they're interested, are they not interested, or they, whatever it's going to be. Take the freaking credit card. And so I'm glad to hear that you're still taking the credit card.
We all need a coach, and I'm still coachable.
So now let's talk about this. So for a few years, so I had actually went and I was like, you know what, we're going to build our own system, right? And we built our own system, and man, that was an undertaking. And that was, I listened to your guys' humble beginnings of, just starting with a very simple on a napkin and doing whatever. That was not my start. Like, I started from a place where we went, okay, we've got thousands of students, let's service them, let's do this. But so we couldn't start there. We had to basically look at where CRMs were and go, we got to jump right into that fold. And we got to figure out some new stuff too. And we got to whatever. I also personally, I didn't take any investment. I didn't anything. Like, I personally funded everything, built everything. That was the triumph of all triumph, because when I say I gained so much respect for you during that time, because it was so much work, so much money, so frustrating. So, I mean, it was just like every day, new things, new thing. I felt like the president. Like, you wake up and they're like, Mr. President, problems. Mr. President, problems today, Mr. President. I felt like that. And we had actually, I think, so we had paused our relationship, not really paused I mean, I would still if people weren't going to use ours, I'd say, hey, the next one we recommend. But we did that for a few years. And then after a few years, we made a decision, just because we kind of made a decision based on, hey, what's the direction of our business? Do I want my focus here? Do I want my focus here? Similar to like you did with real estate and other things. And so I'll actually share some stuff we haven't shared yet, but we made a decision to bring that CRM that we had built, bring it in-house so that it now powered our companies, our multiple companies. Our salespeople were using it, our cleared and closed transaction coordinators were used. Like, we now allowed it to power those places. And what we did was we took the source code from the original, like just the real estate side. We kept that source code so that it's very agent, broker, team specific. We then built on that source code to make it for cleared and closed, for our transaction coordinators. We made changes for them. We built on it for our salespeople. We did whatever, but we still kept that original source code for the actual real estate side of it. And what I will do eventually, so we still have that powering our other companies. what I will do eventually is I'll take that source code for the real estate side and I'll sell it to one of our large brokerages. So like one of our large brokerages, one of our, people we work with, whoever that's larger, has thousands of people, whatever, and they just want their own stuff. You know how a lot of them are going in and they're buying, I don't want to name, different whatever, but like they're just whatever. We'll probably take that and just sell it to them and be like, here, you want your own? Here you go. Here's everything. It's all built, good to go. You get the AWS, you deal with it. You can, you can do that yourself. That's what we did with ours. And then we made the decision. I think I sent you an email or something. I was like, hey, I think we're back in the game. Like we're going to, we were looking at you and a couple others. For me, it was, I had already known you and I already worked with you. I had already known that we had a certain number of our people already working with you and stuff. And we ended up switching back probably, I want to say last year, maybe, or somewhere around.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. Yeah. So
yeah.
I think, and that's another lesson for the brokers is if agents leave your office, it is not a reason to end a relationship. We kept in touch and I'd give Jared a hug or try to have a beer with him at every time I did see him. And by keeping that relationship going, we were on his mind when it was time. So I think we can all look at that and see.
Yeah, it was never hard. Like it was never like it was like, hey man, this is what we're doing now. But it was never like a hard feelings like, hey man, I don't like you guys or anything. No, I still loved you guys. I was just like,
in the begining days, you were calling me and asking me for tips and hey, how do we do this? How do we do that?
What'd you guys do with that? Or what'd you guys
building it out? And I had no problem even sharing our insights because we always know there's enough business for all of us. There's just so much out there, and there's not going to be one solution that everyone says this is the only thing. This is the best, and so it all worked out, and we're real happy to be back and made the
see you at the advance.
Yeah. And I like that you didn't just call us, that you were shopping around and we had to win your business again. And so that we wouldn't have wanted it any other way. So you do feel like you can stand behind us and anyone you send our way, we're going to take good care of.
Well, I just felt like for me, when I was looking at our users, I was looking at your guys' price compared to so many other places. Compared to what you offer and the customer service and to me, it was like a no-brainer, right? It was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that's absolutely, the route we're going to go. It was the easiest transition back in. We had coaches of ours that were still using you. We had teams that were still just like, that's a natural. And quite frankly, I like you guys. So like, that matters to me. Like, I know that business is business, but I liking the people that I work with. It's almost like when you run companies, you get to hire people, or like even when we're training our team leaders, it's like you get one opportunity. The high majority of people go to work every day and they spend more time at work than they do anywhere else on the planet. All this talk about balance, it's nonsense. Like a factory worker is not balanced. The time that they go to the factory and come home compared to the amount of time that they see their kids and hang out, they're not balanced. Like it's not, there's no such thing, right? And so the number of people who go to work and are just miserable every single day, when you have an opportunity, number one, from a hiring perspective, to work with people you actually like to be around and that's amazing. And then secondly, from my perspective, when I have the opportunity to work with people, not meaning people I hire now, but like people like you guys that you partner with and you do things with, that you genuinely like them and think they're good people, why wouldn't you take advantage of that opportunity? So that was obviously the tech mattered. Like you could be a great guy, but your product sucks, Right. And it's like, hey, we'll go get a beer. I'm just not telling anybody to use you, because your product sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it's the truth. Like it's just, I can like a lot of people and someone can hire me to do an event. Someone can use us to coach them. Somebody can whatever it is, all the stuff's great if they like me when I'm in person, whatever. But if, our coaching sucks or I suck on stage, they're not hiring you for anything. At the end of the day, the product still has to perform. It's still got to be there. So I always appreciated that. I like that. I am curious from you, what do you see is I know what I have in my head, but like, what's the differentiator for you? Because there's so many CRMs. Like I always tell people CRMs are like spouses. It's like you'll see one work for someone and then not work for. You ever seen someone with someone, a spouse, and you're like, I don't get it. I could not be around that person, and yet they seem happy. That's kind of how CRMs are. Like, one CRM works for someone, and someone else is going, I hated that CRM. I didn't, whatever. And it's like, well, it works for them, whatever. What do you think some of the main differentiators are, from your perspective, when people select you over the numerous options that are out there when it comes to CRMs in our space?
Yeah, we hear every single day that, the thing that where we're separating ourselves is by offering that amazing 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, weekends, holidays, anytime our members need us, we're there for them, with that real high quality support. We hear, I think what I've a lot of times lately, what I've been hearing when we're setting up brokers and owners is they're saying, it's not like we just bought another piece of technology. It feels like we've just added a new team member on our team.
You guys are very personal. You guys are very like that touch. Yeah.
And we love that. We're when as they're coming, we're trying to build relationships, and so it just makes sense if you're guys going to use our system, might as well take advantage of our awesome customer support. And so like the owners and brokers, they're saying, man, we've never had it where the technology company comes in and then you're reaching out and getting each one of my agents onboarded one by one, and then you're doing the training, and I don't have to guide you through it. You guys are guiding me through it, and I think that's been a big thing. And then you mentioned the other piece is the cost, and probably because we haven't ever had to take that investor money, and we've always been able to keep the money going. We've been able to keep our costs down real low, and that was important to me in the beginning because of my background of coming into this business with no money and realizing, man, after I paid for my license and my MLS fees and all these fees that you get hit with, there was no money left for me to buy any of the cool tools that I was hearing about or looking at. So we wanted to have something that would be available to everyone. And so as we've raised our prices, each time, we've still always been definitely the
where are you at right now? What's your pricing right now?
$40 a month. $32 a month really is what the price, but $8 to add on the texting, and everyone adds on the texting, so it's really $40 a month.
So it's $32 a month, and then if they want to do which they need to, whether it's the texting going through their campaigns, whether it's them actually doing texting through the system, so it's tracking and doing whatever, it's another $8 because you guys are getting charged. What are you using, Twilio on the back end?
Yeah.
That's what everybody, for anybody listening, you're probably not going to understand what that means. But that's like the main supplier of texting and data and messages and those kind of things when it comes to CRMs and other places, is a company called Twilio. And so there's a cost to that, when you look at a CRM like you guys or like any of the others. So really, once you do what you fully need, it's like $40 a month. And then I'm sure like when it comes to teams and brokerages, there's scaled up versions or scaled down versions that happen. But I told you for years, like I remember it was like $20 or $25. And I'm like, Brandon, you're too cheap, man. Like, there's that old saying, you get what you pay for, but you guys truly, like, they get way more than what they're paying for. Like, it's very inexpensive for what you're actually getting. And again, anybody listening right now, you can try them out by going to wiseagent.com/Jared James, wiseagent.com/Jared James. But I've always thought like the amount of stuff that you guys offer, compared to the price, is just, it's a no freaking brainer. And then you sent me a message. I'm really bad with time frames, maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, something like that, right before you were adding your whole chat GPT feature, or really that's what people know it by the name, but really you probably dealt with OpenAI, and said, dude, we're going to be the first CRM in the industry that actually can use and actually leverage, chat GPT, OpenAI. You want to take a second and just kind of tell people, what that is and what that does and what you added and how that works and why you guys were first, and, like, how did this happen?
No, we've been first on a lot of these innovations because we're still small and nimble, and my son is a senior in high school, and he called me in his room. He's like, Dad, you got to see this thing that just came out, and this is early January, and he's like, and he started showing me chat GPT, and as he just did his first example, I thought, oh man, I could see so many uses for our members.
Your head starts spinning. You're like, oh my God, like this is.
And so we, I got back to the office that morning, and we made, started figure out what this is and how can we use it, and so yeah, we were figured that that's what everyone in the world was doing at that moment. And we were going to, would not even be at all first, but we actually ended up being the first CRM to go live in January of this year. We beat Salesforce and, all the big guys, even outside of the industry. But and what we did, we call it our writing assistant, and it just made it very easy for our members when they're inside Wise Agent. Now they can click on this button called Writing Assistant, and they can say, write me a blog article on why people should move to Scottsdale and use these keywords, and it'll just crank it out. And then you can click on whatever it writes, and it'll drop it into your editor, so you can make any changes, and then you can save that and use it now or use it down the road. And so we've been watching people use it to write their blogs, write their
follow-ups,
listings,
scripting, dial. I mean, there's so many things they can use
on and on. Drip campaigns, you name it. But then we started, as it started getting popular and people couldn't get into ChatGPT because it was overflowing or whatever, there's a lot of problems. We had this back door, and so that helped get a lot of people. Hey, I just want to try your writing assistant. I've heard it, and I can't get on OpenAI, or I can't get to it for one reason or another. So we just made it simple, and we've improved it. I think we've done 3 upgrades to it since we released it. Just based on our members writing in and giving us feedback. So we just made it very useful for the members.
You guys are always like right on the cusp there, which is one of the things I love about you. You're always like right on the cusp of, okay, it's not just, okay, here's the main features you need, here's the main whatever, but like you're up on, hey, we're not going to sit on our laurels. Like, this needs to be added. This is important. This is going to, and whether people use it or not, it's available to them.
Yeah.
Is there anything, this is interesting, because your system does so much, like it's almost too much to go over, like everything it can do. Sure. Is there anything that it can't do right now that you want, or that you've been trying to implement, or that you're like, we need to, is there anything?
Well, there's always, our developers are always backed up working on new projects. A lot of them are things that no one has, and we I guess we roll out, if you do an in-depth look at our CRM, it's just loaded with little features and tools that brokers and agents have asked us for that no other CRM has, because we've built everything from the ground up, and everything works together. So what Jared had mentioned earlier, you fix one thing and it breaks something over here, that we know exactly what you're saying, because our entire platform works together. But that's what makes it so unique compared to a lot of these other systems where they've bought all these different pieces and they try to piece them together, and you're just never going to have everything able to work in the same system if you don't build it from the ground up. So we've kind of taken a different approach at that. But yeah, we've always got things we're working on and requests coming in. I guess the big thing that we don't have that is always right there on the back of our mind that maybe we should add is the kind of the last piece probably of the big pieces would be websites. So we have landing pages that they can use anywhere they want. Some people use our landing pages as a single page website for them.
But so if they're doing like if they're doing an open house, or they're doing an ad, or they're doing a whatever,
or even just
to create those landing pages.
Yeah, we even have agents that say, hey, I don't think anyone uses our website, so I just want to make a landing page that says about me and who I'm with, and guides them. And so they're using it as like a single page
it's more like a lead. It's more like a lead attraction thing more than it is a business card.
Yeah, but we have templates for every kind of landing page that they can use. If you're holding an open house, there's no reason for you to have a piece of paper for people to walk in and sign, and then that night you have to try to read all the writing anymore. That's outdated. Now we've got landing pages that you can just have them sign in on your iPad or your laptop, and you can get a lot more information. And everything kind of, as soon as anything happens, then it drops into the system, and then all the automation that you want to happen can happen, or it can be as manual as you want it to. And we have, when you think about the features, we've got people that come and find us because I just need a monthly newsletter. That's my one piece, and that's all they care about. And they don't care about all the other stuff, but for them, $32 a month is.
I was about to say, and honestly, a lot of monthly newsletter companies are going to charge what you're charging for the full,
or the flyer tool, or the transaction management, or there's just piece after piece that they come to us and they're like, wait, you have this too? Oh, I can get rid of this too. So then they start using more and more. And then we have those people that tell us that at every event we're at, man, I've been paying for my Wise Agent account for the last year and I haven't logged in and I see it every month, but I keep paying for it because it's like a gym membership and I know I need to be going.
That's
And
exactly
if I
it.
cancel it, then I'm kind of throwing in the towel. So I'm going to start using it when we get back from the show, so keeping the price down so low, there's just not a big reason why that's not ever a reason why people leave us, so.
Okay, so what do you think are like the top features that people use that they love within your system? And by the way, before you answer that, I just thought of like when you mentioned the website thing, you guys still connect with just about every website out there, meaning they can use their source email, they can use, what you're integrated with a lot of them, and so that any leads, anything that comes in comes directly into Wise Agent, like as if they're connected.
Right. So whether they're whatever website they're using, if it's their company website or they've built a WordPress or they're using another website we've either got a relationship with them or we've got a way to get their leads to drop right into your Wise Agent account. And so we've got that all figured out. From no matter where you're getting leads, you just reach out to us and we can help you get those in one time. And from then on, the leads will come in. And we are the most integrated CRM. So we've got more partners in the industry than any of the other ones. And when I say that, we've actually built relationships where our servers talk directly to theirs. A lot of them say, hey, we're integrated, but we use this tool called Zapier or, one of these tools. And then you have a third party in the middle, and it's just never going to work as good or seamless as it is when our system is talking directly to, like, for instance, BombBomb. And if there's an issue, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, Darren, let's get this figured out, And so it's just it's kind of the way we've done it. And another thing why people really like using it, because everything works together so well.
You've worked all those integrations through your relationships and such. You're not relying on third parties. What do you think are the top features that people love about Wise Agent? What do you think the ones that are most used, most loved? Like if you got rid of them, they would be ticked.
Really, I think, like a lot of things, it's back to the basics. It's the contact list, and so all the different features when you click on a contact that you can see all their information and the ongoing notes. Notes are just so important to build a business where you have these date and timestamp notes. The transaction management is something that is very, very highly used. And that's just basically every time you have a transaction, it'll create a nice checklist for you. If you have a listing, it's going to walk you through all the things you need to do right when you get that listing, through all the things you need to do to market it. And then once you get a contract on it, all the way through and then it gives you a spot to link all your documents to it for permanent document storage and all the people that worked on it, notes, so they love just having everything on one page for their transactions, the contacts, and then some of the marketing tools, the drip campaigns, huge, very heavily used, and the new monthly newsletter. That's another, going back all the way to the early days. We've been writing a newsletter for our members every month, and that's still to this day one of those things where you hear a lot of people at almost every conference, newsletters don't work, or email is dead. But then we see the reality, and man, it doesn't work if you only send it, every other month or when you have time. But it's one of those things, consistency is undefeated.
Undefeated. There you go.
My favorite coaches say.
Heard that saying before. Dude, when I hear the email is dead thing, it cracks me up. Like it literally, like it's actually in my mind, outside of word of mouth that you don't actually control, it's like the number one form of marketing. There is nothing that generates interest, generates people who sign up when I'm trying to do something, people who it sends them to a place. Nothing like sending an email. Nothing.
Right.
Like it's people look at the average email open rate, which is like 21.6% or whatever, right? And they're like, oh, there's only a 21.6% open rate. I'm like, do you know what your open rate is on that Facebook post you did or that Instagram? It's 0.004, And nobody says, 99.96, whatever, people don't, whatever. They just bash the email just because it's not as sexy. It's not as whatever. It's the most effective form. Like, what else are you doing that over 20% of people are seeing? Like, that's amazing and doesn't cost you anything. Like you just got to build your list. You just got to keep building
Yeah.
your. I think it is. I did a lot of this last year, and I'm probably going to start going into this a lot more too, because to me, it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate way to fight against disruption and fight against whatever. It's just top of mind. Like
Yes.
people open their emails now. It might only be 21.6. Ours, by the way, on a massive list is almost 50%. So you can do it. It's just that people don't want junk. So if you're going to send a newsletter, you're going to send content, or if you're going to send, it's got to be something valuable. You can't just tell them, here's the latest interest rate, because Siri, what's the latest interest rate? Unsubscribe. It's just got to be valuable. But people literally have AOL emails they're forwarding to their Gmail now, because nobody wants to give up their old, like they never know what's going to get into that inbox. Like they still check it. They still want to know what's going on, and it's the one part that I think so many people ignore, or just think it's not as cool anymore, or think it's like the number one form of marketing. You have their email, you have direct access to them.
Yeah. And in Wise Agent, we let our members send 2,500 emails every day. So that's 75,000 emails a month for that $32 a month. So, so we cut the cost. A lot of people come to us, they were using MailChimp or, another tool, and it's just another way.
I think MailChimp is what, 2,000? Don't you get 2,000 or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And really the reason, so anybody who's listening, if we want to just kind of not geek out, but just so everybody understands, they're like, well, if I'm doing 2,500 a day over 30 days, why don't you just let me do 75,000 at a time? There is a part of that from a company, from a CEO perspective, where you're guarding yourself against people who have wrong intentions, correct? Meaning like people will join your system, buy a list, and then email out from your server. And then you're going to get blacklisted because all they did was spam a bunch of people, which is going to count against you. And so what you're doing is you're giving yourself the opportunity to give people good faith of saying, hey, you're sending to people that have opted in. But at the same time, for that one out of every whatever who tries to, skew the system and screw your company and go send out some mass blast from your email server, you're protecting yourself by not allowing them to do it all at once, by saying, nope, you can only do that much per day. Correct? Is that kind of the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, no, that definitely falls into it. Where we've just figured it out better than the other guys, and that's why we are able to let you send 2,500 emails a day, where that's most of our competitors, that's their monthly.
When you said per day, I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, per day, that's interesting. I haven't heard of the per day thing.
So we've done the work on the back end when you're on your 14-day free trial, I think that limit is 50 per day. So we really scale it down because we don't know you yet.
They're not a real client yet. They're not, you don't meet someone, go on the first date and invite them to the wedding.
Right. So that's so that you can try it. But, and then we're monitoring it all the time. Every email that goes out, we're watching all the different, factors that'll let us know, hey, is this guy doing it right, or are they messing up? And so we've got lots of tools and blogs written to help you do email right, so you can be sending 2,500 every day with no issues.
And by the way, anybody who's doing it, anybody who's got good intentions should like that you're doing that, because you're trying to increase the deliverability of everybody who's doing it correct. You're trying to say, hey, our overall email server here, like, it needs to have a good reputation. And do people have the ability, if they have more than that and they've been with you for a while, or they pay more, do they have the ability to send more? Or are you guys like, nope, that's it? If you're going to go over, you got to use a different service.
No, we've definitely, we have people that are sending 10,000 a day out of Wise Agent. So it does cost them a little more, but they've earned it.
But they've built their credibility to where it's like, okay, this makes sense. These are real people. These are real. You're not, what is the limit? It's like you're allowed one spam per 1,000. Is that still the limit?
I don't even know what our limits we have set, but they're on it.
I think in the overall, like, what do you call it? What is it? ISP world or whatever it is. I think it's one spam per 1,000 that you're allowed. Okay. Meaning, when you send out to a viable list, if you have 10,000 people, you generally would be allowed to have 10 of those people say this is spam. Without internet service providers going, oh, something's wrong here. Like, you're allowed one per 1,000, right? So when somebody comes in and they send out to 5,000, And the first 1,000 that go out, there's 30 spam counts. They're like, ISP's like, something's up here. This isn't real. You bought this list.
Right.
And just to give you an example, like you're allowed 1 per 1,000. When we send out to our database, which our database is massive, like it doesn't fall under either one of those categories that you just mentioned, right? It's a rarity when it goes out to our whole database and we see 1 spam count, one person. And usually you got to figure that's either an accident or that's whatever. Because the truth is, if you really built relationship and these people know who you are, they're not marking you as spam.
Right.
They might unsubscribe if you're giving them information that they don't want, that they don't, whatever. But they shouldn't be marking you spam unless it's an accident or you dated their sister or something. Like, I don't know. Like it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. And on for the, as you know, for on the tech company side, it's just a pain in the butt constantly because they're always changing the rules, and we're constantly having to jump through hoops and program around it to meet, to follow that all the new rules on both text and email. It's a nonstop.
Yeah, that's why I got out of the game, man. I had to make a decision. I'm like, I'm not going to spend every day, all day, dealing with these issues. Let someone else do it. That this is their job. I'm gonna. It's just like you saw all these real estate companies, that everybody now is a tech company, right? And then you just saw my buddy Nick, who runs Remax, basically step out of that game, and he's like, we're not doing, we own Booge, whatever. We're not doing it anymore. We're now going to partner with another company. We're not in the tech game anymore. We're not doing it anymore. Like, let them deal with it. And a lot of that came with all of the headaches and the decisions and all these things that just weren't real estate related.
Right.
Like, it's like, these are not the things we're supposed, let them focus on that. And that's kind of the place that I came to as well, where it's like, okay, we can do a lot of these different things. But when I look at the core focus of my day and I look at, what people look at me for, what they need from me, or what I need to be doing with my time, or where I need to be leveraging my brain and content and how I think and whatever, it's not in dealing with developer meetings and, this and that, I'm just like, that's just not let somebody else deal with that. So when I hear you talk about email and how they keep changing everything and they keep, on one hand, I'm just like, respect, like, but that's your world. I'll let you have it. You go do with that. Let Brandon do what he does well, and you guys just talk to your clients and know when you should. And ultimately that's what it comes down to. But anyway, what else, man? Is there anything else we need to that we need to cover? Like, is there anything else that you want to make sure people either know about? Like, really, for me, when we talk about doing this, I told you, I want to know the background. I want to know, like, when you got in, what happened, and I think a lot of people who are listening to this are going to be interested by that because, people listening most likely they're not like you and I, they haven't built a CRM. Like, that's not a normal story for people. But the story of, being an entrepreneur and, understanding that, like I told that lady, the biggest problem you have is thinking that you're not supposed to have problems. I think sharing that and understanding that, like, hey, here's all the things we had to overcome. Here's where we've come from. Here's our story. Here's our whatever. I think there's a lot of relatability to that. And it's a lot of why, as I said, to everybody listening now, it's one of the reasons why, we do so much with you guys is because not just because I love the story, I love the people behind it. And I love the actual product that is being offered at a cost that it's insane. Like, the number of people running around in real estate right now that either have a CRM and don't use it, or don't have a CRM. They think that Gmail is their contacts. Is like, oh my God. We talk about you either run a business or you run around. And people always ask me, like, what's the number one mistake agents make? And I always say it's that they don't understand that, the real estate business or just business in general is boats over fishing. Everybody wants to get in and they want to learn how to fish. They want to learn how to lead create. They want to learn how to put lines in the water. And it's like, hey, you do that for too long and you don't have a big enough boat to go after the fish you're after. Before you know it, you're shark fishing in a canoe. And what I see people get wrong is that it's boats over fishing. It's infrastructure first. And from a coaching perspective, there's a certain amount that we can handle from a systems and otherwise perspective of building infrastructure and, getting you a TC and doing all those kind of things, a transaction coordinator. But a huge part of that boat is the CRM. That's where so many of your systems, that's where your follow-ups, that's where your reminders, like CRMs are not just there to do all the auto follow-up for you. Like there's a human component. Sometimes that drip campaign, the follow-up that's happening or the step that's coming out is a reminder to you to personally do something. And that doesn't mean you're not following a system, because there's still the human touch, right? Like you mentioned, you guys, when you onboard people, like when people sign up, you still have somebody reaching out. There's that human touch. Like, one thing we learned during COVID was, who knew people are important, hearing from people, being around people, like human interaction is important. And for people listening to this, whether you're in real estate, no matter what you're in, like we're in that human interaction game. It's why we do a podcast like this. It's why I put out Instagram videos all the time. It's why we are in the interaction, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's screen-to-screen, whether it's, whatever it is, we can overcomplicate this business. But the more that we are face-to-face with people, we are screen-to-screen with people, we are top of mind, we are, whatever. The more we do that, the better we do. And, the idea that there are agents, teams, brokerages running around without a functioning CRM, you are a car without wheels. It looks like a car, there's a lot of things you can do in there that make you think it's worthwhile, right? You could turn the heat on, you can listen to music, you can lay back and take a nap, but you're not going anywhere. And that's what a real estate business without a CRM is. You're a car without wheels. You may look like an agent, you may look like a team, you may look like a brokerage, but there's only so far you're going without wheels. You can get everybody there to push it. What's that?
As you say, and if you got into the industry in the last few years, you may have been able to go quite far without these wheels. But what we're hearing every day now is, man, I've got to get back to actually working now. The last couple of years, I didn't even have to put a sign up and everything sold immediately. But now I need to make flyers and do the marketing to get these things sold or to market myself. And so the industry has been changing, man, we've been getting a lot of people calling in saying, I've known I needed to start using my CRM. I was just too busy the last 2 years and I was not motivated enough because I didn't have to. I could run this car without wheels, but now it's the wheels have come off and they're definitely coming to us saying, hey, help me get this thing figured out. And so, yeah, we've got a tool for almost everything in there, and we're there to train you and walk you through, hold your hand, and get you using it.
Look, man, hustle only gets you so far. It's like, and I think a lot of people, it's like I talked about the previous market and I said it was a fool's gold market. And, I think a lot of people have a fool's gold business and they think that because they can run down the street, they're ready for a marathon. And that's the difference when you talk about a business. When I say you can either run a business or you can run around, to the outside world, they look the same. To the outside world, when you jog down the street at the same time that somebody run a marathon jogs down the street, you look the same, okay? The difference is once you get to a certain point, you run out of breath, you realize you're not in shape, you realize you haven't stretched, you realize you have the wrong shoes, you realize you didn't hydrate, you realize you didn't all these things. To the outside world, it looks like you're running a business, right? But in order to actually run the marathon, there's preparation. Like there's a lot that goes into that. And so when you talk about running a business, yeah, you may be able to run down the street. You may be able to have hustled your way to the place you've gotten today, but you aren't getting into the long game of business. You're not getting into the place where you actually love your career, where your career is scalable, where one day your career is saleable, where one day you're not getting to that place unless you prepare for the marathon. And the way you do that from a real estate perspective is you have to have a CRM. Like it's to me like the number one tool. When we talk about tech tools, it's the number one tool that you have to have, whether you use it at the very minute, lowest stages, or whether you go all out and you've got your whole team functioning on it. And do you guys do like tracking commissions and like doing all that kind of stuff? Sure, so whether you're tracking commissions and, doing your transaction management through there, and you're doing like whatever it is, you're using Chat GPT through there, you're doing whatever. There's many levels you can go to. But like a marathon, like a career, you have to decide whether, right now you want to just continue to have a job that you just hustle your way for, or do you want to actually, build a career that's sustainable and isn't necessarily just based on everything with you and everything, that's what it does. So if you're listening to this, guys, give it a shot. It's wiseagent.com/Jared James. And look, Brandon didn't pay me to be on here. He didn't, whatever. You go to wiseagent.com/Jared James. Give it a shot, guys. You won't regret it. You know, their team is awesome. Brandon's a good dude. Brandon, if they want to connect with you, what should they do?
Yeah, really. You can get to me through wiseagent.com/Jared James and hit the contact us button. My email is bwise@wiseagent.com. So feel free to shoot me an email anytime. And our phone number is on the website as well. And we actually answer the phone. So always happy to talk to anyone and help you guys solve your problems or answer questions, whatever you want.
And don't be upset, guys, if it's not Brandon helping you with your problems or setup or whatever. He is running a company here. And so I know that's his heart. And I know that I think he still does way too many more demos than he should personally. But, you know, that's his heart. That's his, you know, it's kind of his MO. But at the same time, you guys do have people now that will help with that stuff, that will make those calls now, make sure everybody's set up. And at the end of the day, that's really what matters. It doesn't matter who's doing it. It's just, you know, you need to get comfortable with this, guys. A CRM is not something where you hire an admin and say, fix my database. You know, they're going to be as lost as you were, right? So it's worth it. Take a day and learn it. Watch the tutorials, do a demo with them. Talk to your coach. You're one of our students. Talk to your coach about what systems need. So you know what always amazed me is, like, when you talk about systems and infrastructure and you talk about, you know, for example, like campaigns, right? Whether they're setting up a long-term campaign from someone from an open house, whether it's a, you know, a past client, which we don't like the word past client, but like it's a client that is previously closed, right? Whether they're setting up whatever it's going to be. Literally, it's one of those things where you focus for a very small amount of time to get it set up, and then it's done.
You're right.
The amount of time we think about it, worry about it, whatever, and don't do it. And then, you know, whatever the opposite of reaping the rewards, we get the opposite of that because we just didn't spend the 25 minutes to get it set up, customize it, and it's done for good. There's a little tweaking here and there, but it's done. It's really that simple. So I recommend you guys do wiseagent.com/Jared James. Brandon, any final thoughts or anything? Anything we didn't cover that you want to you have any announcements to make or anything? Do you have any?
Oh, okay. I give you so like you were saying, we have everything from the basic tools where a real basic one that gets used a lot is on the call list. So when you go to make a call, are you actually scheduling? If they don't answer, are you scheduling another call for later that day or tomorrow? When they do pick up, have you already reviewed the notes for that anyone else talked to or what you talked with them about last month? Little things like that. And then at the last Jared James Advance, I was talking to another one of your vendor partners, Cole. And so again,
Cole Realty Resource.
Yeah, Cole Realty Resource, great company, and we've built a nice relationship with them and to benefit our members. No additional cost, but now every lead that comes into our system or anytime you add anyone in, it'll actually run a Cole report and pull, you know, if you add a physical address, that is the actual physical address, it'll pull a lot of amazing information. It's even finding birthdays and emails and, you know, filling in the name if you don't have names. So
wait, you're saying that stuff that gets pulled, because a lot of people pay for that stuff. You're saying as part of being with Wise Agent, when they put people in that has the appropriate, whether it's the address or whatever the info is you're going to pull off of, that system can pull at no additional charge their birthdays, their emails, their phone, whatever the info is that Cole is able to find on that.
Whatever Cole's got, yeah. So and that's live right now, and you guys can try it in your free trial. But yeah, so it works off physical addresses, and it's just mind blowing. And that one works about closer to like 95% of the time, where the social media enhancement that kind of searches all the social, I would say that's closer to 40% of the time, but that'll add a picture of your client and stuff. So a lot of times when a lead comes in, before you even click on it, now it's got all kinds of information set up that you didn't get from the actual lead source that came in, you know. So yeah, just a lot of really cool tools to help you all. But the big thing is just to make the decision you want to give it a try, and then take advantage of our customer support team. They're specialists, and they're going to figure out who are you? Are you the broker, the owner, the agent? You have a team, and we'll kind of walk you through depending on what your needs are right now. The brokers that are using the system and also able to, you know, use it to not only recruit but to stay in touch with their office. We see their offices are the ones that do the best and start using it because they're looking up to their brokers that are also using it, and they, you know, definitely put the put more work in, and then they have someone in the office they can go say, hey, how does this work? And also every Jared James coach has an account and uses Wise Agent. So you've always got that resource as well that you can just call your coach, and anything they don't know, they know most of it. They've been using it, but if they don't, they know how to get a hold of us and set up a three-way call. So,
and honestly, man, I mean, that can be the ultimate differentiator in a market when a market shifts, and all this stuff that comes out that's so cool, and the tech tools and everything else. At the end of the day, it honestly is how close can you get to your people. Like I am a big believer that as the world becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, the smaller you can make it for your community, the more you win. When people ask me, why do you respond to your DMs on Instagram? Why do you do, whatever? It's literally because I feel like the bigger that my world becomes, the smaller I can make it feel for the people in my community, the more we win. And guys, that is the cheat code. When you look at it, when you look at your database and you look at all the different ways that people are trying to talk to them, and all the different distractions and all the different touches people make and all the different options and all the smaller you can make the world feel to your community, which is what a CRM helps you do. It gets you focused one at a time on what those are, the more you're going to win. And that's impossible to do without having a fully functioning CRM. So Brandon, thanks for coming on, man. I so do appreciate it. I think this is an episode that a lot of people are going to benefit from. I think that we got to kind of get the behind the scenes, which is kind of a different thing that I don't think people usually like to usually get. And then we talked about some of the features, but the truth is you got to just dive in, so wiseagent.com/Jared James. It's what's good for your business, guys. It's very affordable. Make sure you're checking that out. Thanks, Brandon, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, always great to hang out with you, Jared. Thank you. That was a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Have a happy Cinco de Mayo. Time to get those margaritas going. Huh?
I was going to say, it sounds like you're going to have a happier Cinco de Mayo than us. I mean, you're about to go, you're what, 20 minutes from starting. Are you 2 hours behind? Is it 11:38 there?
10:38 here.
Oh, yeah, you guys always mess me. I can never get you guys down. It's like some areas are 2, some areas are 3 hours, whatever it is. But enjoy those margaritas, man.
All right. Hey,
I'm going to spend the rest of the day trying to stay away from margaritas. Okay. I don't need the sugar, but thank you, everybody. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you leave a comment if you enjoyed this. Share it with someone else that you think would benefit from it. And if you get a chance, send a thank you over to Brandon for sharing with us. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. If it's on YouTube, we'll see you all soon.